day 13 of our countdown to Halloween Horror Nights. We are finally on to our haunted houses and talking about the history, set design, everything we know about each of them. And today we are starting with Jack and Oddfellow, Chaos and Control. I'm starting with this one for a reason. These are our icons this year, and this is going to be one of the most major original houses that we'll see at Halloween Horror Nights 35. This is going to be a large scale icon house that's built around the history and the rivalry of Jack the Clown and Dr. Oddfellow. The important thing to understand about this maze is that it isn't just a carnival house where we're seeing both of these characters. The goal of this house is to have a progressive narrative and take you through the early ages of Jack's past, how Jack Schmidt became the monster he is today, the relationship with Dr. Oddfellow, and all of the chaos that happened following that. One of the most important details of this is the new idea of the portal or the Oddverse, and you're going to be trapped inside just like everyone else. So the whole thing, once you enter, the beginning of the house is learning about Jack before he was Jack the Clown. This is supposed to be significantly different from what we've seen in the past. We're going to finally see the human form, Jack Schmidt, of Jack the Clown, and see how he came to be Jack the Clown. This section is going to establish the relationship with Jack and Oddfellow rather than immediately throwing guests into where they are now. It's really going to set up that Oddverse for you. In this thing, we expect the aesthetic to be dark, deteriorating, travel carnivals, backstage circus environments, and a big key here is this house is Oddfellow telling you his story. In the past, we've heard from Jack, but now we're seeing it through the lens of Oddfellow. So his narrative is going to bring us through Jack's history, which I'm very, very excited about because we're seeing a different interpretation of Jack's origin story. And then we're gonna continue going into that circus, and Jack Schmidt is going to slowly unravel into the murderous Jack the Clown. We're going from the circus to the killing grounds. We are hoping that Universal will give us the opportunity to see that actual transformation of a relatively human Jack moving into the homicidal figure of the clown. We're expecting bodies, performers, destroyed carnival environments, Jack popping out here and there. Again, Jack represents chaos, so we expect a lot of chaos in this Jack section. We then are going to move into the control, where Oddfellow is taking control of the environment. Oddfellow will be killing Jack Schmidt. Jack's body is going to be placed in the Jack in the Box, and I think that's going to be a key in this house, seeing that Jack in the Box. But Halloween Horror Nights 35 is introducing a major twist, and that's that the box isn't necessarily just the holding place of Jack, but it's the portal, and it's where we're getting that Oddverse. Universal has specifically said that guests are going to be stepping through a portal into the wickedly twisted Oddverse. This is where things for us as guests will get very exciting. So there should be a major portal sequence based on Universal's conversations on this, and this should be the major transition visually in the house. Everything we've experienced up until this point has some connection to reality. So a circus, carnival, Jack Schmidt, Oddfellow, murder, the box, and then reality breaks, and we're effectively following Jack through the same dimensional doorway that Oddfellow sent him through. So as I'm going through, you'll see some images of what we've seen, what Universal has released, what some of the podcasters and others who have attended events have released as well. But the second portion of the house is the Oddverse itself, and this is where chaos and control should be much stronger. Oddverse isn't just another circus, it's Oddfellow's supernatural domain. So I'm thinking that the designers are really going to be able to bend reality. If you remember back to Beetlejuice and some of those other houses where you had the portal-like walkthroughs and things like that, I would think it's going to be something exciting like that. I'm expecting elements to be going everywhere. We don't have those details yet, but I'm very excited. This is Oddfellow's universe. It's his rule, it's his stories, it's his control. So things should be deliberately orchestrated, but Jack's there too, and that's the important connection. The biggest thing in this storytelling, again, we started with Jack with chaos, we have control with Oddfellow, but chaos does come back. So we're expecting that Yes, Oddfellow has been narrating Jack's story, but he should be coming back with a vengeance. Jack is going to be interrupting him. Jack's going to start corrupting the Oddverse. He's going to introduce chaos. So we're expecting this whole attraction to just be a jumble of a lot of things. Chaos will be Jack's interruptions, his voice taking over, imagery invading the environment, the scenery becoming increasingly violent, Jack appearing unexpectedly, and control is those controlled environments, the regular narrative, occult imagery, portals, supernatural horror, circus mythology. Seeing a blend of that is what really excites me. We also are expecting Universal to revisit Jack's history throughout Halloween Horror Nights and throughout this house. So I am envisioning some of the concept art that has come out and has been discussed is bringing back references to Jacked Up and Psychoscarapy, Maximum Madness. Longtime Halloween Horror Nights fans should be able to recognize some of those pieces, and I do expect quite a bit of Easter eggs throughout this. So Jacked Up was his deranged game show concept, very telling with the chaos side of the attraction. Jack has always treated murder like entertainment, so we're expecting to see that game show imagery, grotesque contestants or victims, oversized props, blood-soaked entertainment, Jack acting as a host, and then Psychoscarapy, Maximum Madness. It's going to allow the aesthetic to suddenly move away from the carnival imagery and be surrounded more with that institutional original origin story. So the transition that we're thinking of is carnival, portal, Oddverse, Jack's past, institution, game show, circus, supernatural nightmare. That's a lot, but that's part of the whole chaos and control. We also are thinking that we're going to see different versions or manifestations of Jack the Clown throughout the attraction. Jack Schmidt is the human form, early murderous Jack, classic Jack the Clown, past event manifestations of Jack that are connected to the historical sequences. In terms of Oddfellow, he's more of the cerebral side, so where Jack's scares are going to be violent, sudden appearances, grotesque humor and comedy. Oddfellow is going to be more manipulation, portals, occultism. Which is more frightening? I don't know. And I would be excited to see different forms of this as you go through the house. It would be kind of cool to see changes and more surprises as we go through. This house is no longer just a confrontation between the two icons. It is Jack actively challenging Oddfellow, and we're expecting to see chaos and control, Jack and Oddfellow hitting their most aggressive speed. Jack will attack, Oddfellow will retaliate. He'll try to gain control, Jack will bring on chaos. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. We're truly walking through a battlefield. The scares are going to overlap. You could be in an Oddfellow scene and see Jack. You could be a Jack scene and see Oddfellow. There could be dual scenes. I think paying attention to audio is going to be very important too. Again, Oddfellow is controlling the narrative, but that's going to change throughout the house as Jack tries to take over that control. And I think it will be very interesting, either with music, narration, whatever may be, will bring in that horror as well. I expect to see arguments, challenges, everything else in between. At the end of it, we're really seeing chaos versus control. But the whole thing Universal is saying here is neither can really defeat the other. And I think that's the realization that changes everything. At the end, we're expecting the fights to stop. And instead, you have two monsters working together, which is the scariest thing of all. At the end, it's controlled chaos, which is the most insane type of chaos. You should expect to be in the circus, seeing Jack Schmidt, seeing murder, seeing the box, portal transformations, the Oddverse, future state. And the cool thing about it is this house is really about transformation. And when you step out of it, you have a scare zone that you can walk through that shows you what is happening now. So there is a lot that is making this house very exciting. There are so many details that have not been released, and we cannot wait to go through this and see our icons in action in just a couple of weeks.